Hello, Void. Phoebe Rizzo, back again. Been a little while, because I've been putting this one off for a bit. Mostly because I don't know how to talk about this one this day and age, really. Movies you don't expect to age awkwardly. But I alluded to it when I started this collection that I wasn't going to touch on one initially, but I have this thing where essentially when there's a big multi-disc collection, I generally try to go disc by disc. And well, technically it was the first two movies on this, because it's a mini-series, but Pandemic, Part 1 and Part 2. I don't know really why it released it as Part 1 and Part 2. In fact, I think they just did that to pad the numbers of this collection out to 20 movies, because really, it's 19 if Pandemic is counted as one. That said, both parts of Pandemic are 90 minutes, so it is the length of two movies. But I digress. Right. Okay. So, this isn't anything directly related to the actual pandemic. No. This one actually was 2007. So, predating this current issue by about 14 years, if my math is correct. Is that right? 2007, that long ago? I'm getting old, man. Anyway. But, oddly enough, a lot of the things that happen in this movie mirror things that are happening this day and age. So, props to the miniseries for how things would actually go. But we should be doing better. The movie even warned us. Okay. So, Pandemic. It begins with a 19-year-old kid returning from Australia and gets on plane. As he's leaving, his friend that he's been staying with seems a little sick. And so he gets on the plane, gets sick, and dies on the plane. Now everyone else on the plane is understandably freaked out. And, well, the whole plane gets taken into quarantine, and then it goes into the shenanigans that happen thereafter with them trying to figure out what this disease is and where it came from, and trying to contain it, because they're doing everyone else in the film that's under quarantine is doing everything they can to not contain it. And with everything I've seen in the real life, it's frustrating to watch. Okay. So, they dubbed the virus the Riptide virus, just because it came from an Australian surfer, I guess. But, it's a variant of avian flu. So, essentially, it causes people's lungs to essentially degrade, and they start coughing up blood. And eventually can't breathe, and it's very fatal. Pretty quick? Sort of? Maybe? It's very inconsistent on the length it takes to kill people. I will say that. Like, the surfer bro at the beginning seemed to have been sick and then was dead pretty quick. Same with our boy who took it onto the plane. It showed him kind of do a little bro hug with his buddy, gets on the plane, and 9 hours later, he's coughing up a lung and dying. But people on the plane who are infected are lasting 5+ days. Some of them dying, some of them not. So, very inconsistent. I mean, that could just be people's immune systems and the drugs that they are on that are delaying it, but it makes it like some people who are otherwise not getting those drugs are still surviving longer. So the CDC, which French Stewart's involved in, so there's some entertainment, is doing pretty good trying to contain it. Meanwhile, there's the governor of, it's been almost a week since I've seen this. I think it was California. No, I'm pretty sure it's California. Then the governor and the mayor of Los Angeles are kind of butting heads politically on how to deal with this. But it's mostly the people around them that are making things difficult rather than them. They actually seem to be trying. But the problem, and the CDC does a good job quickly containing it and getting everything up. Problems are threefold. First off, there's the businessman, whose business is so important that once he gets off the plane, he sneaks away and proceeds to go about his business deals. Therefore, being essentially patient zero to the pandemic, which ends up eventually killing a couple thousand people. And problem number 2 would be the you can't do, then this quarantine is illegal, you can't do this, it's my freedom that you're impinging upon. This is all a government conspiracy. I'm not sick. Guy who goes on and on throughout the entire time before, during a serious incident, which I'll touch on later, just walks out, taking a bunch of people with him, before getting his militia bros together, and then breaks out of the city into out of the quarantine as well, so doing everything he can to spread it. This guy was the most frustrated, because today you see a lot of people who are like this, and not taking the actual pandemic seriously. And it mirrored it very disturbingly. The other problem is one guy on the plane was a criminal that was being extradited, a drug kingpin, back to the States for execution. Problem is, his gang, now that he's in quarantine and can't be taken away for execution, breaks him out and proceeds to do shenanigans like kidnapping the doctor that's working on a cure and hijacking the trucks full of medicine that would help slow the disease down. And it's his people's attack that causes the Freedom Yahoo to just walk right out. So I will say, overall the miniseries was pretty well done. I was wondering how well it was going to keep this premise going for as long as it was, but it dragged at points. Well, just more reiterating things, but for the most part, it was paced pretty well. But, like I said, the virus is pretty inconsistent on what it does to people. One of the main doctor researchers' niece gets it, and she's like 9 or 10. Maybe. Kids' ages are hard, especially in movies where you can't really tell. Somewhere between 9 to 12, we'll say that. So, and she's, suffering through the disease through most of it. Like, she gets it in part 1, so yeah. Alright. So, it was a TV miniseries, and it does its job pretty well. It is a little long for the subject matter. Like, this probably could have just been an hour-and-a-half movie if they just tightened it up a little bit. But they do, have a whole bunch of extra plot lines, I suppose, to keep it moving. And it is well acted, I will say that. So, particularly the criminal mastermind guy who's just so over the top evil that he's great to watch. I'll give this one a 3 MacGuffins. It hits a little different these days, a little closer to home, but it's well done. So, Pandemic. Too soon? Topical? I don't know. But it was worth a watch. I did look up some. The only bit of trivia on this thing was that a lot of people have been streaming it during the pandemic here, so I guess a lot of people have been choosing to brush up on it, so. Yeah, I liked it more than I was expecting to. But still, 3 MacGuffins, the best I can give it.